In today's latest news, are we considering replacing Conor Gallagher for Amadou Onana? Today we have tons of exciting reports around potential targets for next summer. We know that we're looking towards strikers, we're looking towards centre-backs, full-backs and another midfield player, with many more players set to be sold during this window. So we'll discuss those future options. Hit that like button, share your thoughts and opinions, and don't forget to watch the club news video today without wasting any more time. So let's start with the first story, and we discuss Everton's surprise talent of the season in Branthwaite. Now this report comes from the Daily Mail, and it states that we have made an inquiry over the possibility of potentially signing him this summer. As we all know, we're hoping to sign more defenders this summer. I'll give my thoughts and opinions on that, but in the meantime, us alongside Man United and Spurs are showing lots of interest in the player, with actually Spurs and United showing greater interest because that is more of a pressing concern and need for their teams. Now, last season he was on loan at PSV. He had a sensational season there, and that's when I first heard about him. So I was expecting something good to come from him. And Van Nistelrooy, the manager there, said that, listen, this guy for his age is very complete, very good. And when you see him play, he's like, 6'4", 6'5", left-footed, phenomenal in the air. Low-key underrated with his use of the ball as well too. He has great pace, good understanding. He can play in a 2, play in a 3 and play out wide. I can fully see why clubs will look towards players like this, because I think the physical freaks will always give you like an advantage in your teams. So with our need to sign a centre-back for next summer, it's no surprise to me that we are going to continue to use our scouting network and the analysts to find us the best possible option for the best possible fee, because as reported by David Ornstein yesterday, he mentioned that we have money to spend. We're not going to be affected by FFP like that. We've safeguarded ourselves in terms of the investments we've made. The players were still set to sell, etc, etc, and I've always kind of believed that, so I'm not too worried at this point in time. And he stressed that we might spend a bit smarter and not even invest in signing like that one superstar. So I'll let you guys give your thoughts around that, because I personally believe we need at least one or two to really take the whole team to a different level. But to share my thoughts and concerns with you, I'm sorry, I just don't see why we have to sign a centre-back. I don't get it. If we're going to sign a centre-back, your Todibos, the Amandes, your Braithwaites, these guys will be on the market for like 50 mil, 60 mil plus. I think that's too much money for an area in the team that isn't a pressing concern. I get it, Silva's going to go, and potentially Jarrad might leave, and he's attracting interest from Roma, Inter and AC Milan again, because for some reason all these clubs in Europe value and rate his abilities and we don't. But you could have a defence next season consisting of Badia, Cole, Disasi, Wesley Fofana, who's not dead. He will come back. Yes, it's a bad injury. Does that mean he's injury prone? Absolutely not, because he's just suffered 2 unfortunate injuries. Like, what can you do against a leg break, for God's sake? And let's not act like other players haven't had similar tough starts to their young careers. Antonio Rudiger being the prime example, and right now he's one of the best defenders on this planet. So don't give up on Wesley Fofana, and I don't think we can afford to, because he's one of the highest earning players at this club, earning over 200,000 a week on like a 7-8 year deal. So next season for me, you keep these guys, you keep Jarrad, and you reintegrate a Humphreys or Gilchrist. That's how you do it. I don't see why we need to have 5 international starters fighting for 2-3 positions next season, when we could invest those funds into a pressing concern like striker or a superstar attacking player that can actually transform what we do in the final third, or even like blow the money on an Alphonso Davies. Use the money on pressing concerns. I don't understand why we love centre-backs so much, especially when it's a case of diminishing returns, because we're not going to win league titles when we don't score enough goals to begin with. So they're my opinions. Share yours, my friends. But now to move on to an area that we may need to reinforce for next season. We'll be discussing the reports coming out from Belgium surrounding Amadou Onana. Now, in my recent video discussing Frenkie de Jong, listen, reports in Spain state that he could be one of the favourites that gets sold by Barcelona. His agent's putting out feelers that, listen, give us good proposals. Let's hear what you guys have to say at least. They're preparing for possibilities, right? And essentially, if Gallagher doesn't stay, which is looking more and more likely as the season is coming to an end, it will mean we will reinforce in signing another midfield player. So I guess if we reinvest that Gallagher money, would that mean that Pochettino gets the type of profile that he's been missing in this team? You know, he wants a physical powerhouse, a tall player that can add more protection defending against aerials, set pieces, add more strength to the team as well too, that can cover the ground and distances on counter-attacks more effectively. If height is Pochettino's answer, a DM could be the solution, and I guess Amadou Onana could be filling a lot of holes in this team. Now, this report in Belgium states that we have already entered early negotiations for Amadou. Now, I think maybe it's a bit hyperbolic. I know sometimes, you know, they take, you know, real things where you're holding discussions. You're going to be talking to players, agents. You're going to try and get a feel behind what you could do with this guy in the summer, right? But I guess if you say negotiations, it's more of a sexier term to use to attract people to read your article. So I get the game. I understand that, but I don't think we are fully that deep. I just think right now it's all about feelers, but we can discuss those feelers. And I do think Onana could be the type of DM presence that could help the team out. Now, I have to say that he's really showing good strides this season. I don't think he's a finished article. And I think that right now we have to stop always talking about these young guys as if they're the finished pieces that will fix these holes by themselves in the team when they haven't fully mastered their game yet. So I think if you're signing Onana, you're signing someone that you feel in the next 2 years is going to be the leading DM. And I personally believe that Onana could have a very similar trajectory to a Declan Rice. And I think that's what makes him very exciting. I still think he has things to learn. I feel like maybe in the big games, he could be a bit more imposing. He could be the star that you remember in games like that. I do feel like at times he can kind of get lost in those games, but I think that's something he can improve upon. And I do think that Sean Dyche has definitely made Onana grow more into a man. And I think that's because she's given Onana a lot more responsibilities this season. You know, Onana was playing in a midfield 3 last season, and I think in an interview I read, he mentioned that when he played against us last season and he was kind of playing this like advanced type of attacking mid role, he said, it was the worst game of my entire career. That is not how I play, and of course I was bitterly disappointed with my performance there. But I think since he's been trained and used under Sean Dyche, he's more of a holding 6 who plays on the left side of midfield. And I think, and because Sean Dyche has entrusted his responsibilities into Onana, I think that's actually made the player a lot more confident, a lot more commanding, and a lot more assertive. And I think he's actually one of the exciting young talents in the Premier League. Price tag could be interesting. Of course, he has interests from not only clubs like us, but Arsenal and Barcelona. Allegedly, Deco, the sporting director there, you know, they want to sign that type of Yaya Torres type of midfield player, and they believe that Onana has the technical capacities, physical capacities, and mental capacities to be good enough to play for them. And allegedly, they don't want to pay more than 40 million euros. So they're going to cap their values at that price. Maybe that tells us that Onana won't be sold for like 80, 60 million, but you could sign him for around 40 to 45. And I guess that depends on where Everton fall in the league once the season ends, right? I think Onana could work here, and I keep going back to this, but I think that if we were to sign a more classic DM, I feel like Caicedo effectively replaces Gallagher in the setup and will play more box to box. Now, Caicedo's always been more than just a Kante clone. I think those comparisons were quite lazy, and to be fair, when I see Caicedo's technical game defensively, I think there's a lot more work and improvement there, but I think that his best defending comes when he closes down passes, when he pressures opponents. You know, he reads the move and the danger ahead, and that's where he does his best stuff. But I think when it comes to winning that last duel, that last challenge, he does struggle. And maybe the solution is, listen, we want Caicedo, our big money, most expensive buy in this Premier League history, to be the guy that plays a more Essien type of midfield role. But to do that, we need that DM behind that can eat the yards up, protect our defense, give us more aerial strength, and Onana could be a good move that works alongside an Enzo and a Caicedo. Obviously, you might ask yourself, Nini, I thought we signed Leslie Ugo Chukwu to, kind of save money from having to sign Onana to begin with, because these guys will be ready in the next 1 to 2 years potentially. You know, we have another talented Senegalese player that we've just signed who also fits those qualities and capabilities. So what does it say that we've signed 2 young guys that have the potential, but instead we're going to go for a 21-year-old or 22-year-old and Onana because we need that quality right now? I guess time will tell, right? But in the meantime, that's the end of the story. Share your thoughts and opinions. Do you think that Onana could be a smart buy we need? Let us all know. And for the final story, I'll be discussing Bournemouth's left back Milos Kerkez. Now, I first heard about him based on, accounts on Twitter and analysts talking about his fantastic season with AZ Alkmaar, where, he had big shoes to fill. They just sold Vindal to Ajax, who was one of the top Eredivisie left backs, and Kerkez, this young kid from Hungary, came in and had an instant impact, and he found himself signing for Bournemouth last summer for big money, around 80 million. And I think so far he's had a very decent start to life in the Premier League. I think it's a very educational year for him. He's playing in a higher league against stronger opponents. And I think the fact that he's able to play at that level and show qualities shows that there's more to come from him. But at the same time, he is also another work in progress. Anyway, reports state that we are heavily scouting the left back over a potential move, because it does seem like we are in the market to sign another left back, and our policy is to only sign these guys young. So the fact that Kerkez is on this list says quite a lot. Listen, I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions. I think we can't fool ourselves into thinking that all these young guys we sign are destined to be like, the leading left back this, or instant upgrade in quality to the team. I still believe that if we sign a left back, it'll be competing against Ben Chilwell, and it'll be between those two. But I guess, Kerkez is a very interesting player, very aggressive, very front-footed, very fast, very pacey. I think his delivery in the final third is very strong as well too. I think his defending can definitely be worked upon. I think sometimes he can be overly aggressive, which is natural when it's your first season in the Premier League, and he can be a bit of a foul magnet at times or be out of position. I think, but I've seen him, his best work actually comes when he gets to defend on the front foot. So what I mean by that is that, let's say we've pushed our lines up, we're pressing your opponents. He's proactive with his defensive style, so he will anticipate when to make that tackle before the winger receives the ball. Sometimes for a team like us, we can definitely improve our pressing capabilities, but to do that, you need those proactive front-footed players that can eat the yards up quickly, suffocate the opposition, and of course, hopefully kickstart another attacking move. In terms of his passing, I think it can definitely improve, and I think actually when it comes to progressive play, his best stuff comes when he gets to make runs and behinds. And I guess it's no surprise, because he has played a lot of his career playing at left back, left wing back, and left wing as well too. So I think you could use him proactively like that. He has got some comparisons with Destiny Udogie. I think Udogie obviously is better right now, especially with his use of the ball. But a 20-year-old that has an incredible engine, that can play box to box, because you need that outlet in the team, right? That has, great attributes that you can work with. There is something there, but then ultimately it depends on how you're going to use these guys and the minutes you give them. And I'm always going to say this. I mean, today I saw Ian Matson win the Young Player of the Month award, and I think to myself, how the hell are we going to go in the market to sign another left back when we already have a top quality left back that is club produced, that costs us absolutely nothing based on his player costs? I just feel like sometimes it's too much of the signings, especially when you have players that are already good enough. And I think Kerkez is a very interesting player, but it does feel a bit sideways in comparison to an Ian Matson that might be just a bit better and a bit more ready right now. So let's see what happens. My friends, on that note, that is the end of the latest transfer news. Share your thoughts and opinions, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully, where I'll be able to release the What We Did Right versus Crystal Palace video, because I put too much time into it. I was annoyed I couldn't upload it yesterday, and obviously, yeah, it can't be in vain for nothing, right? So I hope you guys enjoy. I'm Nini FC, this is BlueLionsTV. See you guys tomorrow. Cool.